I think the specific concerns were really those of the Brookings Institution and specifically my co-author, Rebecca Winthrop, who was, guided by the growing body of research on social media's harmful effects on young people and the recognition that we have really little understanding of how similar dynamics might unfold with AI in education. So she contacted me in September 2024, to lead the study. And I came to this work kind of as both a proponent and a critic of technology in education. I've been long influenced by the media critic Neil Postman, I think, who did more than any other writer to establish that technology giveth and technology taketh away, that it's kind of like Newton's third law of motion applied to education. For every innovation, there is an equal, for every benefit, there's an equal, I would say sometimes not equal, opposite reaction. So my own use of AI when I was in Portugal actually raised some concerns for me. I was struck by the immediate dependence that I observed among university faculty and teachers and myself on AI tools, an experience that led me to write Eyes Wide Open, What We Lose from Generative AI, which I think you guys profiled. And I wanted to see if these concerns, these initial concerns, were legitimate. So you have kind of two streams coming together, Rebecca's concerns and then my concerns. And I think what was really missing from the broader debate was really any serious consideration of whether educational AI might follow the same trajectory as social media. So introduced with enormous optimism about democratizing access and personalizing learning, only to reveal profound harms once it was deeply embedded in students' lives. And I think Brookings, and we saw that gap. We felt compelled to address it before AI became as entrenched and difficult to regulate as social media has proven to be. As we say in the report, the risks outweighing the benefits right now that we've seen, this is not an immutable outcome. This is not an inevitable outcome. We, that is human beings, people in the education system, parents, government officials, and institutions, we can change that. Is really regulation. And as we recommend, specifically regulation by design. So right now, AI is being driven by a small number of very monopolistic companies, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, Google, et cetera, and their endless need to grow even bigger. And these companies are not driven by education concerns. They are not driven by concerns about human flourishing or democracy. It's about markets, it's about money. And their businesses, that's what they do. So in my country, in many countries, we have no federal regulations around AI. We have a patchwork of state regulations, which is not good for education systems. It's not good for students. It's not even good for these technology companies. So these AI systems, especially general purpose systems like ChatGPT, from what I can see, it's the most common application used across the globe by schools. So they're already operating in schools worldwide with very minimal oversight. And I don't think traditional regulations can keep pace with how quickly these platforms evolve and can't predict how they'll behave after real-world deployment. So AI companies have the technical capacity to embed protections into their system architecture. They can do this directly, but they don't have an incentive to do it because regulations haven't demanded it. So this is a very long introduction to regulation by design. And a regulation by design approach, for those that aren't familiar with it, really embeds regulatory objectives directly into technical design specifications. So for example, data minimization or privacy guardrails or de-anthropomorphizing techniques. So it it kind of embeds or bakes these protections where they actually work, which is in the system's DNA. They're not external checks that happen after a kid is using technology or too late to protect students if it matters. They happen with the design of the application itself. And I think this would go a long way to ensuring that general purpose tools students are using are much more trustworthy and safe. So, the alternatives to regulation by design are essentially what we have right now. And that's letting educational AI develop according to purely commercial objectives, engagement metrics, operational efficiency, market share, slop, with student protections as an afterthought. And given AI's capacity to shape learning at scale, I think that's a recipe for systematic harm. I think the second is the design of student-facing technology. And I think kids should be using technology that teaches, not tells. And right now what we have is technology that tells. Because as I said, the majority of schools that I talk to are using the free version of ChatGPT. And again, these applications, an application like ChatGPT, which is built on this large language model, these are general purpose tools. They draw content from the open web. They're designed for all users with minimum guardrails, against excessive attachment or false information. They're not teaching tools. With these general purpose tools, it's the LLM itself that's the ultimate authority. And what we argue is that in terms of AI tools for kids, again, bending this arc from more risks to benefits, kids need tools that teach. So tools and platforms that are specifically designed for kids that enrich student learning. And these tools and platforms would draw on what we know from the learning sciences, use vetted, factual, curated content, not content from the open web. They don't dump information like the general purpose AI tools do. They scaffold, they ask questions, they disclose information progressively. So they're guiding students, and the student, not the AI, is in charge. And so the third imperative, I think, would be developing pedagogies around AI that create learning experiences that are fundamentally possible without it. So, helping students use AI to explore complex simulations or receive immediate feedback when the teacher's unable to provide it, or access highly personalized support or tutoring. Basically, any pedagogy in which AI is used to enrich and not impoverish student learning. Educators need a lot more rigorous data on AI's role and its long-term impact on student learning, particularly on students' cognitive skills, their affective states, their motivational states. So, for example, what are AI's effects on learning? We're still not quite sure. Are these impacts the result of inherent qualities of AI tools or how they're used? What characteristics make students more likely to become emotionally dependent on AI tools? There's, a real urgent need for research in human AI interaction. Yeah, when I interviewed folks and said, what do you need to know about AI? The first thing people said is understanding how it works. So definitions of AI, its underlying principle, how it generates responses, its design, its evolution, what happens with prompts, using the tools. And that's what often constitutes AI literacy courses. A full accounting, the third thing, a full accounting of AI's risks and benefits, how AI impacts students' emotions, their development, reward system, impact on the learning process itself, de-skilling, cognitive offloading. Fifth, the nature of human AI interactions, how human beings anthropomorphize technology, how we participate in the banal deception of technology, emotional dependence, bias, displacement of human connection, understanding how AI companions work, their intended outcomes, their potential risks, the techniques that are used to lock students in to engagement with these AI companions. Sixth, online safety and data privacy. The concept of sensitive personal data, why it's important to protect it, the notion of consent, what this means in digital contexts, developing safe online habits, Seventh, digital citizenship, the nature of online interactions, the disinhibition effect, which is, where we do things online that we'd never do in person because we'd be too ashamed. Digital hygiene, ethical and responsible uses of AI, intellectual property, media literacy, which I think is also information literacy, how AI generated content circulates in these information ecosystems, developing skills to evaluate AI outputs, synthetic media, understanding how algorithms work, data literacy, how your data is collected, processed, used to train AI systems, biases and data sets, and the downstream effects. This is number 8. The history of technology and its impact on humans and society. Agency over AI use, how students and teachers can have informed refusal and understanding when and why to opt out of AI systems, recognizing coercive adoption in AI. And then the 10th element, and the last one, which I think is so critical, is they talked about this need for reflective discernment. So the ability to clearly differentiate personal reasoned judgments from the pull of these algorithmic suggestions. And so reflective discernment, for our study participants is thinking about how we think, deliberately stepping back from AI tools, engaging in activities that maintain human judgment and human expertise, and examining our relationship with these technologies and being mindful of how we engage with them, how we model technology use for our students, and to force ourselves to engage in non-AI assisted reading, writing, creating, grading, because it's these experiences that really deepen teacher professionalism and that connect teachers to teaching and to their students. Yeah, I think in terms of research and where the gaps are and what to prioritize, I think the biggest research gap that I've seen, because I was immersed in the research for 18 months. I mean, I have easily read, I think at this point, 1,000 studies. No one should read this much about AI. And I found real gaps on AI companions and their impact on student well-being. Everyone I talk to is really afraid of these platforms. I also find them kind of creepy and sad, but we don't have a lot of data showing that the fears that people have are actually warranted. So we have a global health crisis and a loneliness epidemic, and especially among young people. And I have seen some research that suggests that therapeutic AI platforms and even some AI companions can help young people who have acute crises, or at least it can take the edge off these acute crises or deep moments of loneliness. And they can help kids along the autism spectrum if they're used judiciously with oversight by clinicians in terms of the therapeutic uses of AI bots. So, I think it would be great to have more research on this, including what personality traits or life situations protect kids from potential harms from these AI companions, because not every kid who uses them is going to become addicted or go off the rails. But there are some kids who will use them and will get addicted and will go off the rails. And I think we have to understand there, what characteristics and contextual situations make these kids more likely toward dependence on and addiction to these platforms. Number 2 is I think we have much better and more high quality data on AI's risks than benefits. So I'd like to see a lot more rigorous research examining the actual affordances of AI platforms and tools on student learning, and especially reading and writing. Because what I've seen thus far, and even though I included it in the report, it's pretty weak, frankly. So I'd like to see, a third area is I'd like to see a lot more research on teachers' uses of AI and the benefits and harms that AI poses to them, and the quality of instruction and their relationship with students, their commitment to their craft. I do question, based on my own work with teachers on AI, that I question the claims about its time-saving capabilities if teachers are interrogating the outputs. I actually think it might increase time burdens, but I think we need more data on that. I would really like to see the education community act on the research we find. I think education is a field where we routinely ignore evidence, in part because it may contradict our personal or our cultural beliefs. And I think this is why education has so many wars, epistemology versus pedagogy, and the reading wars, and the math wars, and the science wars, and the instructional wars. And the research that we do generate in education is often academics writing for other academics. And I think it needs to be much more geared toward practitioners and much more utilization focused. And then I think finally, we need clear explanations of what AI is and is not. So for example, there's a lot of conflation between the classic tutoring systems that I talked about and generative AI. All the data that shows the power of tutoring, most of it is focused on classical non-generative AI. But if you look at a lot of the research, the generative AI is conflated with that classical AI. So, and there's a lot of unclear definitions, of what large language models are, the stochastic parrot that I wrote about 2 years ago. That's no longer true. Large language models are a lot more complex than they were. There's a lot of blurring, say, of adaptive learning and virtual reality with AI, when in fact adaptive learning and virtual reality have long predated generative AI. So I think education would really benefit from some definitional clarity.